Hey there, and welcome back. Today we're tackling one of the biggest myths about emergency funds, and I'm willing to bet you've heard it before. You need to save a full year of your salary. A year! That sounds impossible, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck, right? But here's the thing that nobody tells you, and this changes everything. An emergency fund isn't about saving your entire annual income. It's about covering your essential survival expenses for a certain period of time. And that's a completely different number. If you're on a modest or low income, this distinction could be the difference between feeling like building emergency savings is a pipe dream and actually achieving it. So let's break this down together. And by the way, if videos like this help you think differently about your money, please hit that subscribe button. It really means the world, and you'll get notified whenever we drop something new. Let's start with the myth head on. Where does this idea of saving a year's worth of salary come from? It's everywhere. Financial websites throw it around. Your uncle at Thanksgiving probably mentioned it. And it sounds so authoritative that we just accept it as gospel truth. But the reality is that this advice was originally designed for people with high incomes and complex financial lives. Maybe they have a mortgage, a car payment, kids in private school, investment accounts, and a lifestyle that costs tens of thousands. For them, yes, having 12 months of expenses saved makes sense because their expenses are genuinely massive. But that advice got repeated so often that it became this universal rule, and it got applied to everyone, regardless of their actual situation. If you're making $30,000 a year and living on $20,000, you don't need to save $360,000 in your emergency fund. That's the trap we need to escape. So what actually is an emergency fund? Think of it this way. An emergency fund is money set aside specifically to cover unexpected expenses or temporary loss of income without forcing you to go into debt. The key word there is essential. We're not talking about maintaining your current lifestyle indefinitely. We're talking about survival. What does survival cost? That's your number. Your emergency fund should cover your essential monthly expenses, multiplied by however many months you want to be secure. For most people on modest incomes, 3 to 6 months is the sweet spot. 3 months gives you breathing room to find a new job if you lose yours. 6 months gives you even more security. Let's do some real math here. Imagine your truly essential monthly expenses break down like this. Rent or mortgage, let's say $800. Utilities maybe $150, groceries $300, transportation $100. That's $1,400 a month for absolute survival essentials. Now multiply that by 6 months and you get $8,400. That's your emergency fund target. $8,400, not $360,000, not even $30,000. $8,400. Can you see how that changes the conversation? Suddenly, this isn't an impossible dream. This is an achievable goal, especially if you break it down month by month and year by year. Here's where most people get stuck, though. They think about their full monthly budget. They think about their streaming subscriptions, their coffee runs, their eating out, their new clothes, their entertainment. They mentally multiply all of that by 12 months and think, well, I'd need to save everything I make for 2 years. But that's not what an emergency fund is. In an actual emergency where you've lost your income, you stop the discretionary spending. You don't cancel Netflix while you're looking for a new job. Actually, you might. You don't get your nails done. You don't go out to eat. You don't buy clothes. You survive on the essentials. And that number, the survival number, is so much smaller. This is the most important realization you can have about emergency funds. You're not trying to maintain your current lifestyle for 12 months. You're trying to survive for 6 months while you find income again. Now, let's talk about how to actually build this. You're on a modest income. You might be making $2,000 a month, or $2,500, or $3,000. That's real money, but it's also tight. The idea of suddenly saving $8,000 can feel overwhelming. But here's the beautiful part about breaking it down. You don't have to save it all at once. Let's say you can scrape together $100 a month toward your emergency fund. That's roughly 3 to 5% of a modest income. And for most people, that's doable if they really commit to it. At $100 a month, you'd hit $8,400 in 84 months. That's 7 years. And yes, 7 years is a long time. But here's what's important. After year 1, you have $1,200 saved. After year 2, you have $2,400 saved. That's already more than 1 month of essentials. That's already meaningful. That's already protecting you. Many people build their emergency fund faster because as they gain focus on their finances, they find ways to cut expenses or increase income that they hadn't noticed before. You might start meal prepping and realize you're spending less on groceries. You might cancel subscriptions you're not using. You might pick up a side hustle. These small changes compound. What started as $100 a month might become $150 or $200. And suddenly, instead of 7 years, you're looking at 4 or 5 years. But even if it takes 7 years, the point is that you're building something real and stable and it's working for you. Let me give you a concrete example that might hit closer to home. Sarah makes $26,000 a year. That's about $2,000 a month before taxes, so let's say her take-home is around $1,800. Her essential monthly expenses are $1,200. Rent is $700. Food is $300. Utilities are $150. Transportation is $50. She's got $50 left for miscellaneous essentials. That leaves her $600 a month for everything else. She decides to cut her discretionary spending and commits to putting $150 a month into an emergency fund. It means giving up some things, but it's temporary and it's for a real goal. At that rate, she built her 6-month emergency fund in about 5.5 years. And here's what changes for Sarah. She stops living with the constant anxiety. One car repair or one medical bill will send her into debt. The second benefit is that as she builds this fund, her relationship with money changes. She starts thinking longer term. She starts noticing where her money goes. She might realize she's been spending $60 a month on coffee shop visits and lunch out. That's money she could redirect. She might find a cheaper phone plan. She might carpool to save on gas. These aren't huge changes individually, but they're real and they compound. This is the psychological shift that actually leads to long-term financial health. It's not deprivation, it's intention. You're choosing where your money goes instead of wondering where it went. Now I want to address something really important. What if you genuinely can't find $100 a month right now? What if you're in survival mode yourself? Then start smaller. $50 a month, $25 a month, even $10 a month is building something. Every single dollar you put into an emergency fund is a dollar you don't have to borrow at 18% interest when something breaks. It's a dollar that's working for you. And honestly, once you start this habit, once you have momentum, you often find that you can increase it. You get a small raise, you find yourself spending a tiny bit less, and suddenly you bump it up to $60 a month, then $80. The key is starting. Here's another mindset shift that helps. Stop thinking about the emergency fund as something you're sacrificing for. Start thinking about it as insurance. You wouldn't skip car insurance to save money on your car payment, right? Because the risk is too high. Your emergency fund is the same thing. It's insurance against financial disaster. And unlike car insurance, where you might never use it, an emergency fund is something you're very likely to need at some point. Job loss, medical bills, major car repairs, home emergencies. These aren't maybes, they're whens. And when that emergency happens, you'll be so grateful that you spent the last year or 2 or 5 building this fund. You'll actually be able to handle it without panicking. Let me also tell you where to keep this money. This is crucial. Your emergency fund should be separate from your checking account. It should be in a high-yield savings account. Why? Because you need it to be accessible, but you also need it to be out of reach of your daily spending. If your emergency fund is sitting in your checking account, you'll dip into it. You'll convince yourself that the new laptop is an emergency. You'll rationalize buying concert tickets because you deserve a break. But if it's in a separate account that takes a day or 2 to transfer from, you create friction. That friction is your friend. It protects you from yourself. And a high-yield savings account means your money is actually earning interest, maybe 4 to 5% a year right now. But that's free money. It's compounding. After a few years, your emergency fund isn't just the money you saved. It's the money you saved plus the interest it earned. That's a win. Let's talk about the timeline to get there, because I know that's what you're really wondering. How long until I'm actually secure? Here's the honest answer. If you're on a modest income and you're committed to putting away $100 to $200 a month, you're looking at 3 to 7 years to build a 6-month emergency fund. That sounds like a long time, but remember, you're not waiting until year 6 to see benefits. After 6 months, you have $600 to $1,200 saved. You can handle a car repair. After year 1, you have $1,200 to $2,400. You can handle a minor medical bill. After year 2, you have $2,400 to $4,800. You can handle losing a week of work. The benefits start immediately. You're not doing this for some distant goal. You're building security step by step right now. And here's something that's helped me personally. Once you have your emergency fund fully built, you don't stop there. You keep that $300 a month that was going into your emergency fund, and you redirect it toward the next goal. Maybe it's paying off debt. Maybe it's saving for a down payment on a car or a house. Maybe it's building a retirement fund. But the habit is already there. You've already proven to yourself that you can save. You've already built the discipline. That's invaluable. So many people tell me they can't save, but the truth is they've never really tried. The moment they commit to a number and actually do it, they realize they can. And then they wonder why they didn't do it years ago. That's going to be you. Let's address the objections I hear most often. First, people say, but what if an emergency happens before I finish building my fund? Great question. If you lose your job when you only have $2,000 saved, that's still $2,000 you don't have to borrow. That's still 2 months of rent covered. You might need to dip into it, and that's fine. That's literally what it's for. But here's the thing. After you use some of it for that emergency, you have momentum to rebuild it. You know how to save now. The next time you have an income, you rebuild it faster because you've done it once already. It's not a setback. It's proof that your system works. Second objection. People say inflation will make this pointless. My 6-month fund won't be worth 6 months in 5 years. That's true to some degree. Inflation is real. But here's the thing. Something is infinitely better than nothing. And if inflation goes up 3% a year, your emergency fund buying power goes down a bit. But you're also likely to get raises or find ways to increase your income. You're not frozen in time. You're moving forward. And even if your emergency fund is only worth 4.5 months of expenses instead of 6 due to inflation, that's still 4.5 months of protection.